I'm Jack Burmester, and you're watching UteFans.net.
Hey, Ute fans, welcome to another great episode of The Extra Point, brought to you by UteFans.net. I'm joined by Cal, the Rocket Beck, Robert Johnson, Mark Oberg. How you guys doing this morning?
Doing okay. Two doses.
I don't know what hurts more, 2 weeks ago or today.
Just trying to get through, bowl game. That's where I want.
I'm really looking forward to going to the Sun Bowl.
What?
I'm not saying we're out of contention yet, but there might be some mental barriers as to what our postseason is going to end up looking like, which is sad because now the postseason is to highlight players that aren't going to burn a red shirt that you'll see on next year's roster. It's almost like a spring scrimmage game.
Yep.
So we go down to Tempe. We know that it was announced a couple days ago that Cam Rising would be playing. The Ute fan faithful got very excited about that because that was the missing piece. And what happened in that game, Cal?
The third play,
Yes.
his leg got rolled up on, and he had no drive in his throws. And Whittingham admitted that he looked a little rusty in practice, was missing some throws, but it seemed that the more he got rattled, the more the rust settled in. And that's just mental reps. Now, I'm not saying he's not taking mental reps on the sideline, but that's just having reps in the moment. That's that game time speed type thing. If you haven't been in the pocket, and you get rattled by throwing a key pick in the red zone, and you're limping on a bum ankle, you can't run the ball. Your choices are limited.
Rojo.
I mean, like exactly what Cal said. We already knew that it was going to be a little bit of getting him to feel comfortable throwing a ball with his messed up finger, and the balls was flat. It was like very low and flat, and then when his ankle got rolled up on, that changed a lot because now he really can't use his lower body just to throw the ball. It got to the point where towards the end of the game, or even second half, it looked like he was shot putting the ball to the receivers where he had no zip, and then the one time that he wanted to try to throw it with zip, it got intercepted, which he tried to throw it in between a linebacker and a corner, but the ball the ball just didn't get there. And it was kind of it's sad to see the football gods are making sure that Cam is hurt. It's a sad thing, but it's football.
Mark, what about you, man?
Well, I agree with the other guys. At the same time, I was thinking throughout the game, I really understood the term velocity and how important that was, because when Cam was trying to get the ball in to some tight spaces, it wasn't happening. We got picks at the wrong times. It was a struggle watching. So I can only imagine how he was feeling, but everybody in my house was asking why Isaac wasn't coming back in, but it's not that simple. We know, but yeah, it was a difficult game for Cam.
I want to talk about that mindset a little bit later on, but if we're going to talk about velocity, we have to talk about Bernard's velocity downfield with the ball. The dude's a beast.
Yes.
And like you mentioned earlier, Mark, he is the most consistent player right now that we have to lean on. Out of everybody, he keeps showing up.
Yeah, he gets past the line of scrimmage so quick. And I remember that back when he was, 3 years ago. It's like this guy gets into the secondary quick.
And I don't think he's ever running that hard too when he first started. He's running hard this year. He's running to run people over and get extra yards, which is really good.
His yards after contact hasn't been an issue. I mean, it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch, and it keeps our offense rolling. But to go back to your point, Mark, why not put Isaac back in?
Right. a lot of people are wondering why that didn't happen. What do you think, Mark?
I don't know. One thing I've gathered from spending too many years of practice back in the urban and early Kyle days is there's always a lot more going on than people see. And so, in terms of chemistry, in terms of prep in the quarterback room, we just don't know. So I don't tend to get too worked up about decisions. I mean, that's fans reacting naturally, but there's more to the equation. There always is.
If it would have been Isaac and it had the same outcome, nobody would have been satisfied. I mean, like I've mentioned before, two-time Pac-12 champion, team leader. The expectation he wants to play is in there. And if you are going to gain momentum, especially going against TCU coming to our house this Saturday, you go with the captain. Like it makes sense for the remainder of the season to build that camaraderie and to move in that direction, because the other direction was stale. It had bottomed. It had flattened out. We needed a spark. If you look at his production, the throws weren't there, like Rob said. I was more concerned with third down. We have receivers not running routes to the sticks. He's thrown to the check down, who is 5-7 yards short of the sticks. I mean, that's a no-win situation, even if you throw that ball. So I noticed that he was going through his reads a lot quicker, and his buddy ball with Keithy was not panning out. So it was a bit of a panic and that rust settling in that caused those questionable throws. I'm not saying the non-physical ability throws, throwing behind receivers, throwing low, but it was rusty in a lot of areas. And we've seen him lead comebacks before. We've seen him buckle down and emerge better than when he starts off in a game. And it's not that long ago that we can forget that was an exciting time for us to witness happen.
Yeah, well, I mean, and to hear that, I'm on the opposite end, and nothing against you, Kyle, but I read something on the internet that said something that was really powerful from what I feel. They were saying that Cam is our leader. He's been a wonderful player. He's done, he got us two Rose Bowl and done some amazing things. Injured, healthy, he has done some amazing things for the program as well as the university. But it is about that time to start preparing for the new, which is Isaac. And I'm not saying that we need to sit Cap, but sit him down or anything. I'm not saying that, but in reality, the playoff picture is not there. So maybe giving Isaac some more live reps, just let him play and let's just roll with it. Like the goal, like I was mentioning earlier, is to get into the bowl game. Now we need to get into a bowl game. We need 2 wins. Like I believe that having Isaac get that experience now can set us up for the future, from what I feel, because Cam, he's done a lot, and we thank him as fans. He's an amazing guy for us. He did a lot for us, but maybe it's time to pass that torch.
If he doesn't get his ankle rolled up, and he
Yeah,
still makes those bad throws, do you still have the same stance?
I still no, I won't. I'll change up, because right now, seeing him get injured again, it's like even if he was to get better, these injuries are just tough. And if you can't throw the ball, if you can't step into a pass, that's bad. If you can't grip a ball, that's bad. And then when we run in these read options, it got to the point during the game where it's like I think their defensive coordinator just was like, just stick on the running back. Like Cam is he's not in the best ability to pull and go. And then the one play that he wanted to kind of run, it was for me as a fan, it was scary. I'm like, oh, he's just gonna get hurt again because he can't even run. It's like he can't move, but he had to move, and it's like, okay, I think it's about time to pass that torch.
As soon as he limped off the field, ASU's defense went to a 1 or a 0 coverage and started
Because they
stacking
start
the
blitzing.
box because they knew he wasn't going to be able to slip through. I mean, it was a great, it was a great call. Another concern that I had on offense that I noticed is our zone drawbacks, which is usually Micah's bread and butter. When it would fail, it was in the red zone. And that was a frustrating factor for all fans witnessing that game. Our lackluster performance in the red zone continues to haunt us. We even took the points this time versus the game 2 weeks ago when we were yelling, kick the field goals. We do that, and we still can't be productive inside the 30.
Yeah. When your kicker's the leading scorer, right?
That says enough. Yeah.
I mean,
Rob, if
Cole did
if
his
you have a
job.
chance to Rob, if you have a chance to go back and watch the game, because I watched it again this morning really quick on DVR, I want you to watch the zone drawbacks, the chip blocks by the offensive linemen when they have to extend their blocks to the secondary or to the linebacker line.
Mhm.
Those chip blocks aren't being maintained. And by the time the back gets to the zone cut read, that first block defensive lineman has already penetrated. And that's the tackle in the backfield we're having. It's not a
Yeah.
bad read. It's not bad timing in the sense of the handoff, but we are not maintaining our blocks. And because our linemen are a little bit intimidated of getting to that block. When we had a seal block coming on the backside, we had the backside linebacker away from flow, making the tackle through the
Yeah.
gap of the line
Mhm.
multiple times. That's just a read and a shoot in the gap. We're not controlling the gaps on offense, and I think that we're just there's a timing issue, especially inside of the red zone, that needs to be sewn up. That's our bread and butter.
Well, quickly think about this. If as a defensive lineman or as a defensive person myself, is that when I know a quarterback is unable to be mobile, like it's not no boot action. He can't play action it. He can't roll. So it's like I'm going to attack it. I'm going to just get across the line and run flat. So it looked like Arizona, some of the players started to just say, we're just going to get flat. Like we ain't worried about a boot or anything because he can't run. It's like, yeah. So I think they stopped. They did exactly what you said, Kyle. Is that they start going one-on-one. They start having a D lineman and a linebacker just one-on-one block with the offensive lineman. It's like, can you beat your person? And it's like he can't run. So it just got to the point of just it looked at for us to be on ESPN and the way that we feel about our university, it was hard to watch. It was really hard to watch because somebody I seen said, "Oh, they're out physical in us," and I'm like, I don't think it's that. I think it's just we just not getting it done on offense. It's just one of those things. It just sucks. And then you got a running back that,
Yes,
but like if you look at it on film or look at it on paper, the running back Scamboom, like
Scatterboo.
yes, Scatterboom, his yards look so great, and it's like, oh, he dominated. But when you watch the game, dude had 40 yards going into the third quarter.
Yeah.
It just the defense got tired. The linebackers is what we've been saying. We really need to step up and bust out two big runs. Then his yardage look crazy when it's like, dude had 40 yards going into the third quarter. That's a win. That's a big win. But we just can't get things done.
Containment.
Mhm.
My biggest concerns on defense are the containment on the ends,
Yeah.
especially with a quarterback and a powerful back that could break that outside run. My other concern is our specific goal line defense. When we put in the heavy set, when they're inside the 10 or the 5 and we end up going in there are questions on that bully ball mark that I wish I could be quoting and saying is our identity, but it is not there.
Our linebackers, I feel like our linebackers are playing on their heels. Like I heard Porter from ESPN 700 mention that, and I was like, no, that's not true. And as I'm watching, I'm like, that's kind of is true. Like our linebackers, like we in week 5, and have our linebackers had any type of big impact play? Like normally we got spoiled with Devin Lloyd, and then we got spoiled with a lot of players. But you look at our linebackers, and you think about the plays that we are so used to seeing. It's almost like being surprised that special teams we missing field goals on special teams. It's like that's not common for us. So seeing our linebackers not really getting in there, it's like, where's the big plays? Like we just, I don't know. It's just playing downhill compared to playing on your heels as a linebacker. That's tough. And when you got defensive lineman that's really good and you got a secondary that's really good, you should be playing on tip of toes. Get there, hit the hole. Even if you make a mistake, you know that it's somebody that's going to protect you. We're playing too timid at linebacker. We just sitting back and kind of hoping that we can get there. When our offensive running back is getting 3 yards up above us, like in front of the line of scrimmage, that means our linebackers is playing on the heels. And there was a couple of plays where their running back was getting up to that second level and third level. It's like, somebody not doing something because our D line is doing what they probably can. Linebackers not hitting the holes quick enough. We're not or not developing the play, I guess, or scanning the play out a little bit faster.
Well, let me ask you guys this, Mark and Andy. We have had the moniker Sack Lake City forever. We've been Sack Lake City. Is that evaporating just like the Great Salt Lake is? Those big plays are not there, like Rojo said.
Yeah, I saw, especially early in the game. Yeah, our D ends were overrunning, and that quarterback, Sam Levitt, who's not particularly mobile,
Mm-hmm.
he was just waiting for the DN to overrun, and then he'd take off. I thought over and over and over, and I was like, we're using up too many snaps, using up our energy, not keeping contain on the outside. So yeah, it's I think maybe they're going for Sac Lake City, and in the process getting burned, and the quarterback just bails out and picks up an easy first down.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Honestly, at the end of the game there, I know, Robert, you were saying that the D was getting tired. It was pretty obvious, but Scatterbo had his way with us. You know, we had no answer for him at the end of the game. He sealed it there at the end of the game.
You did. Yeah, but I feel like we crunched them down. We kept them contained. Like, I mean, you can't, when you have special running backs like that, the goal is not to just like, the goal is to slow them down and not score as many touchdowns. That's always the goal. It's like when you have a special running back, he's going to get his yards. He's going to get his. But the goal is like to slow it down to a point where those big runs are not happening as frequently as they should. And keeping them at that 40 was great. And then he just bust out a 60 yarder, and that was what I think that was 3 tackles that was missed. And he was able to get loose and get where he was going. And then that second big run, he just read the hole really good. He, like, seeing it from the back view, he read it really clean and got there. And I'm still riding with my defense. I'm still saying we get tired. Like, it gets to the point where those 3 and outs, and as on the sideline, when you seeing quarterback that's have a receiver wide open and he throws it short, it really gets to a point on defense as we're on the sideline, like, oh, come on. He was open. It was about 4 plays that I know that I've seen that Cam just didn't have the velocity, like you mentioned, to get the ball to the receivers, or he was throwing it too low, or his first interception. That's a normal pass that he makes where he throws it over to the linebacker right there. But for some reason, the ball just projected down. And I'm telling you, on the defense, it gets to the point we're doing our adjustments, but then we also trying to kind of watch the game a little bit. And you can hear it in an away game, you can hear the crowd when you're on the sideline. So you doing over plays, then boom, an interception, you hear the crowd get loud. It's like, oh man, we got to get back out here. Like, it just continues. And it's like, can we get some points? Like, can we get something? Like,
Frustrating.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah, very disappointing performance. I mean, I honestly had a hard time watching the game. I didn't see every snap. But when we went into that 2-minute drill at the end there after they scored and we're up by 8 and Cam threw that interception, I was done. I was done. So we'll be right back after some messages from our sponsor, and go Utes.
The Ken Garff University Club in Rice-Eccles Stadium is Utah's premier social club. Members enjoy incredible dining experiences, co-working spaces, exclusive member events, and fun game experiences like tailgating, pep rallies, and watch parties. Membership starts as low as $80 a month and is actively accepting new memberships. To learn more about joining this beautiful club, go to kengarfuniversityclub.com to learn more.
Hey, you fans, welcome back to The Extra Point, joined by Cal Beck, Robert Johnson, Mark Oberg. We had a great first segment. Obviously, I mean, the way it looks right now, as hyped as Utah was going into this season, and we get hyped a lot, we've been disappointing. We've lost 2 games, just lost to both the Arizona schools.
That's what happens when you steal their hockey team.
Yeah, you're not the first person I've heard say that. Or cursed, yeah. So disappointing loss against ASU. From we were just talking during the break, from my perspective, I mean, we're probably out of playoff contention, but beat BYU. If we can beat BYU this year, that would be great. So we have TCU coming up at Rice-Eccles. It's a late night game this Saturday, correct? So,
which unfortunately I don't feel means anything anymore. We haven't shown that playing us at night at home is something to be dealt with, especially after the last time. Like, it's not our identity is still, we're still in search of our identity. We're not playing bully ball. Our defense hasn't come through on those big plays like we mentioned earlier. So to playing them at night is interesting. TCU has 2 wins. They beat Kansas and they beat Long Island. And I love it when we play a team that has a victory against a team that I don't recall easily. I had no idea Long Island had a team. They got slaughtered by SMU, close game with Houston, close game with UCF. But they are a passing offense. They throw the ball, maybe run it on an audible, but and they're quick scoring. So it's going to play into our advantage, us being clock protectors and them scoring quick. It reminds me of the TCU when they had, I dislike him so much that I forgot his name. The redheaded quarterback.
Andy Dalton.
Thank you, Andy Dalton. It reminds me of the offense they used to run back with him.
So, Mark, what are your thoughts? I mean, we've got TCU coming to Salt Lake. We obviously really need the win. We're probably out of the playoff picture, but what's next for Utah?
Well, next up, TCU. They were on a bye last week. Previous to that, I think they lost at home to Houston, who had changed quarterbacks. So that's a team to kind of keep an eye on. Sonny Dykes, I believe, is coach at TCU. He's back there, and we know how to play that defense. We've seen it, or I mean that offense. We know how to. When they were at Washington State, that entire coaching tree, the quick strike, the air game, we know how to play that. Whittingham after the game had, just a couple of things to say. There's some things that we need to get figured out, and then we should be a pretty good football team, and that's what I'm looking for.
Robert Johnson.
I mean, this game has always been tough. TCU has always been people always say rivalry games. Man, playing in the Mount West against TCU, it always felt like a rivalry because it was always felt like the conference was always up for grabs. And now we're both sitting in a position where the conference might not be up for grabs, but it's still going to be an important game. The goal is just to get 6 wins. That's all I'm at right now. Just get 6 wins. We need just 6 wins, and let's just focus on making it to a bowl game by getting 6 wins.
Who does TCU prepare for at quarterback? That's one of the benefits of Cam staying in. Do they put in the faith that Cam's going to continue to get the reps and try to get spit and polish, or do they anticipate Isaac?
Cam looked like Isaac this past game, so it's like it don't really matter who you put back there.
Well, historically, we've actually had a pretty good rivalry with TCU. They're not the team that they were even the other year. Am I being too optimistic saying Utah probably wins this one going away?
Yes.
Yeah.
At this point, I would say that, but that's me being conservative on the whole. I'm not expecting any flashes of brilliance. I think that we've got a lot of stuff to grind through. And previous years, we've had some not animosity, but we've had some traumatic events influence the players in the locker room, and they merged around it. We celebrated at the end of every third quarter still to this day. The stickers are on their helmets. But I was talking to a friend of mine. I was talking to Brian Alba, who was a kicker when I was playing there. I saw him yesterday morning, and the team may be lacking the identity because they're not bonding over the specific thing that they have over the last couple of seasons. A lot of players that had to internalize and deal through the Forever 22 traumatic events, they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that commonality, that bonding, and the changing of the guard with Whittingham on the horizon. We don't know exactly when. There might be an identity as a team. Do we hold on to Whittingham, or do we look for what Scalley's going to provide, being the coaching and waiting? But running away from it with any game right now, I think it's not logical to predict or to anticipate.
So that's, we should really talk about that because before the season started, the athletics department announced that Scalley was the coach in waiting, and that's kind of what we all expected. And with the way the season's gone, it's made people more curious about the future of the coaching staff at Utah. Could this be Coach Witt's last year? I mean, is he done? What do you guys think? Mark.
I think it's possible. It's possible. I mean, there comes an end to everything. But I know he doesn't want to go out on a low note. He'd rather go out having accomplished something. So, two things. I mean, this year it's looking like a long shot to get into the into the playoffs. But the other thing on the horizon that might keep him going a little longer is whatever the new conference makeup looks like. What's the organization of college football? I think that one's probably less likely, but I know he doesn't want to go out. He doesn't want to go out kind of trailing off. He wants to go out on his own terms.
Rojo, what do you think? You played under Coach Witt.
The same what Mark just mentioned is that he definitely do not want to go out on the low. Coach Witt is not one of those type of guys, but to see that Arizona game, like Arizona game, the year prior, Arizona did some stuff that they shouldn't be doing, and Coach Witt normally does not let that go. So to see how when we played against Arizona, how things just didn't work out for us, and then now we played against Arizona State this just yesterday. I don't know. I think Coach Witt is at the end of an era as well. Like thinking about Cam, it's like the same thing with Coach Witt. I believe that Coach Witt don't want to end on a low, so it's a sad situation where this division should have been ours, but in reality, we can't fight it. It still can be up in the air. The way the conference can go, things can still plan out somehow, some way, because we always get stuck in some sticky situations where it's like, hey, we just got to win this and we can, get here. But we're going to see. And I feel like Coach Witt is maybe this might be his end, maybe.
I'm on the other side of the middle. I'm on the other side of the middle from Mark. I think it's more probable than possible. We watched Saban leave last year, not because of leaving on a low note or because of lack of productivity, but because the game has changed for the head coach and what their roles totally entail just over the last 2 years with NIL. I found it very ironic that the NCAA announced this week that National Letter of Intent Day is now done, which is a redundant practice at this point, because if a kid commits anywhere on National Letter of Intent Day, February 2nd, I believe, who's to say they're not going to flip their commitment before they even enroll in the school? The transfer portal got shortened. The transfer portal window, I appreciate that. But I think there's a saying in education, and it's called closed door management. And I love my job as a teacher if it's behind my classroom door, but it's all the politics and everything outside of it that drive teachers usually out of their career. And I think that's the pressure and the frustration that Whittingham is dealing with. Recruiting has changed. Retention of players has changed in just the last 2 years. And that is a foundational difference from what he has built his legacy upon. And going out on a high note is optimal. That's what everybody wants. But I don't think that he's also the type that would announce, this is my last season, for that farewell parade. I could see him stepping aside quietly at the end. And that might be part of why we were talking, Rojo, earlier, some of the play calls that were like, really, what's going on? But if he had whispered or is thinking, yes, I'm stepping back this year, I wouldn't put it past him to rely more on the decisions that are made by his OC and Morgan, because that is the feeling that they will have once his departure does take place.
Well, lots of uncertainty for Utah right now. We're hoping for bragging rights against the team down south, maybe get into a decent bowl game. Is it possible, guys, that Utah rights the ship and finishes strong this season?
Yes. That's the faith of the fan. Yes, we're going to see better football. We're going to see back to flashes or dominance of what we expect from the team. In that rivalry game, we were talking about it when we started recording earlier. It's going to have a different feel. It's been a while since we've played. We did lose the last one after the 10-year streak, but we don't have a lot of players that understand the feeling of that game. Not a lot of in-state players that grew up with that within the culture, within the local culture. Like that's something that a lot of out-of-state players, when I was up in the hill, they're like, wow, this is really big. They understand what rivalries are, but they don't understand what this rivalry is. And you can tell the difference as soon as you start practicing, not looking past TCU or anybody else, but this is remnants of the days of old when they would recruit at Utah and they would tell you, if you beat the Y, you try to win as many other games as you can. That's a successful season. We've obviously done a 180 from that and expect to win every game or have those high expectations. But it's a hark to the back that this game is as big as it's going to become, especially if they continue to have that results in their games that they have.
Mm-hmm.
Any final thoughts, Mark or Rojo?
I agree. I think we can turn a season around. Are we going to be able to accomplish those lofty goals? That's looking unlikely. But I've seen it happen over and over and over, where a team finds its identity. It finds something to rally around, and it can happen. And I think that would be a fitting way for a Whittingham team to end up. You know, kind of like his personality, grind, work every day, get better and better. That's the way he approaches things. And I think hopefully the leadership on the team, the Bernards and the Risings and, the Bartons can instill that kind of that intensity that Cal was talking about with the BYU game coming up. That's what I'm looking forward to. I think it can happen. We just need to do it.
Rojo?
And for me, I mean, TCU is this week, and TCU has never been a pushover. Like I mentioned in the first segment, they never have. And maybe we can step up to this challenge because, I mean, it's normally I'm like, oh yeah, it's a night game. We should be winning because it's a night game. But this year, I'm just like, night game or day game. It's like we need to show up. Like that's the main thing. We need to show up. And I don't know what's going on during the week, but like we always say, the injury bug, it always gets us. But it just gets the wrong players. Like, no, not like that. That sounds bad. Like it can get the right players, but it's like it just sucks that this was the first year that I believe that this was the first year that we had the target on our back. The beginning of the season. This was the very first year I feel that the target was we need everybody in the division or in our conference was like we need to beat Utah. And
that
now
was the one component we were always jealous of SC over.
Yeah, and now it flopped, and now the team down south got the credit right now, and we just got to worry about TCU and do what Coach would always say: take it 1 week at a time. Right now, just got to take it 1 week at a time. This week, TCU. Next week, whoever the team is that we play against.
We're still ranked 6th in the nation in third down efficiency on defense. Our fourth down efficiency has kicked us in the teeth. But if there's a team that's going to test that specific consistency at that statistic, at that area of the game, it's TCU.
I mean, where's our scoring defense at? Because we have gotten so used to scoring on defense. I don't think we had a score on defense this year outside of what a punt, a kick return. I mean, a field goal return.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
The big play, like we mentioned earlier, the big plays. We are creating turnovers, maybe not as many, but we've get downhill football, downhill defense.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Great show, guys. Covered a lot of important stuff. You fans who are watching, we appreciate you, and tune in next week after the TCU game. Hopefully it's a victory for the Utes, and go Utes.
It's going to be a victory. Go Utes.